Welcome to the Unhinged Vibes Podcast with your host, Caramel Thunder. That is me. Now, today, folks, it's going to be a very special edition. Okay, the only reason why is because we have a returning guest. Okay, now with this returning guest, this is going to be a Talking in Cars edition. I'm currently driving from Alberta back to Winnipeg. I'm in the mountains, so if I cut out or I'm choppy, that is why. But don't worry. My guest host for today, you know him very well. He's been on an episode before, maybe on another episode. But I want to introduce Mr. Rui. Rui, say hello.
Hey, welcome everybody. This is Rui. You can get a hold of me at Roos69er.
Oh.
I'm all set, ready to talk to you, AJ. How's things going?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Oh, doing great. Can't complain.
That's good, man. Now, it's been a while since you've been on an episode. I believe the last one you were on was Becoming a Dad episode. Am I right?
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah, that was a long time.
I've been listening to all your episodes, and man, I've had opinions on them all.
Well, don't worry. You'll be able to share your opinion because today we're going to be talking about your views and thoughts on Magic. So how you proceed to make a commander deck, what you think about proxies, and then the third big topic for this episode is your opinion on the ban list. Okay, so we'll go into all three of those in depth. But first, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. How's your day been so far, man?
Oh, it's been pretty good. I actually got up early and went for a walk. I've been kind of lazy trying to get myself to go back to the gym. So I figured, you know what, I'll just start walking every day and then work my way to doing some gym time here.
Ah, very nice, man. Very nice. So is there anything fun to do where you're at right now?
Say again?
Is there anything fun for you to do where you're at?
Oh, well, I'm in Kamloops right now. So there's a lot of fun. Like, you know, hiking's pretty good around here. So a buddy of mine here says he downloaded an app with all the trails. So we're going to start hitting them for walks and then move up to jogging and so forth, right?
That's actually pretty cool. Now, Kamloops, that's in BC, right?
Yeah, right in the middle of the mountains, right where all those flooding and everything's happened and mudslide.
Oh, no way. That's crazy. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're safe.
Yep.
I'm glad to hear that you're safe. But now let's get down to the nitty gritty. You good with that?
Oh, I'm set to go.
All right, let's start this episode off. There we go. Ooh, stumbling on my words. I need to sip my coffee. Okay, anyways. Rui, what are your thoughts on Magic in general first? Let's just start off with a broad question. Okay, what are your thoughts on Magic and why did you start?
You know, it's actually kind of a funny story. This is really funny. You kind of already know this, but I started Magic way back when on Unlimited. It was just right after Alpha had come out. I missed out on the Alpha. And then after me and my buddies, me and like three other buddies, like, you know, we got into Magic. We started playing, right? We played for a few months and everything. And then my friend who introduced me to Magic, he goes, you know what? We should all sell our cards while they're up in price because this game can't last forever. Boy, do I ever regret that decision.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Right? So anyways, we ended up selling our cards. We did make money on them, but nothing compared to what they're worth now. And then after, I remember one night I was just sitting at home. Wife was out with her friends. And I'm like sitting there going, you know what? I think AJ mentioned that he played Magic. So I gave you a call. I'm like, hey, AJ, you doing anything tonight? And you're like, what's up? And I'm like, well, if you're free, whatever, why don't you bring over your Magic cards? We'll play a couple of games. And I was expecting you to be busy and everything. And all of a sudden I got a response back. I'm on my way. And I'm like, oh, okay.
That's funny.
And ever since then, I just got back into it. You're the one who introduced me to Commander. And you were a modern player at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I was at the
modern decks. You had a couple of modern decks. One was way better than the other, and that one, like you won quite a few tournaments with it.
Oh yeah, my Modern Affinity. Affinity. Yeah, man, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
You know what? Funny to think, like when it comes to our Magic group, I got Nelson into it. I don't know if I got Evan into it. I might have got him. I might have got him back into it, not have him started.
Yeah,
But I'm the number one cause as to why our friend group is broke in regards to Magic.
exactly. You owe me a lot of money.
Yes. But I have also given you a lot of good memories.
Very true, man. I can't deny that. Can't deny that, buddy.
Oh man, that's funny. Okay, so question number one, Rui, right out of the gate. How do you approach making your commander decks?
How do I approach? Well, that's changed.
Okay.
Originally, I approached making my commander decks. I'm like sitting there going, okay, this is my commander. I want to find something fun to use. And then I just like want to, okay, let's see how this thing will work, right? You know, what can make this better? Or what's a cool card I can put in here that kind of works with it? And then I used to have just like, 10 different strategies in the deck and everything like that. And if one of the strategies would go off, it would win. But there was so much infighting in the deck to get something to go off that was like, literally a 1 in 10 shot of actually winning the game. So it was very sporadic. It wasn't very optimized. It wasn't very controlled or focused or anything like that. And I was like, and I learned quickly. And then I started getting into focusing the deck, right? And then I started getting into optimizing the deck. And then I started getting into, and then I started watching CEDH and oh, okay. Oh, they're really like trying to push the power of these decks and everything, make them quicker and all that, and getting all these high powered cards. And I started looking at the prices. I'm like, holy crap, that's way too expensive. But I'd get my deck. My first deck was Marin of Clan Nel Toth, right? And I just picked it because I liked the colors. And I didn't really know the focus of that black and green are two of the strongest colors in Commander, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like thinking, oh, okay, but I just love the recursion of getting my creatures back for free. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So I just started optimizing that deck, and I put it to, at the time when I started playing like a few years ago back again, I actually got that deck up to as high as CH level as I could get it. And everything, and I had a lot of fun. I still have the deck together, but it's completely changed now. But I had that deck up to a high CDH level, but then I realized, when we start playing with more people and everything, that it's like, well, okay, either one, you guys are just going to gang up on me because you guys know how powerful the deck is, or two, I'm going to win and it won't be as much fun, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I started changing my strategies, right? I made a couple of more CDH decks, and I played them once in throughout my Magic history with you guys and everything. And there's one deck, I literally played one time against 5 other guys. There were 6 of us playing. I played one time, and by turn 3, I wiped all of you guys out. And I was like, yeah, okay. I've never played that deck since. Winota.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I remember that one.
Yeah, you guys were like, okay, well, let's see what you can do. And I was like, okay. So I've never played it since. And then recently, within the last, few months, we haven't played as much, but most of my decks have changed now. I'm actually down to only 2 CDH decks in my list of decks. And I have about just under 30 decks made. And I have only 2 CDH decks. One is Winota, and the other one is Najila. And I rarely bring them out. If you guys ever want to play that kind of high level, then at least I have two decks to play. But now the rest of my decks, I've actually started taking them apart and changing them. My whole approach has completely changed. I'm actually more into building janky decks, right?
Okay.
I find them more fun to play. Right? I'm not saying they're weak. They're not CDH level. They're not even close. And some of them are still powerful, but they're nowhere near that level. And for me, I want the jankiness of the deck more than anything else. If I get the deck to go off, whether I win or lose, I don't care.
Yeah. It's just the fun of the game.
Yeah. I just want the deck to go off. I could lose every game and my deck goes off, then I'm like, oh, okay, that's awesome. I got to do something big and everything like that, right? And that's what literally what happened with my Marin deck.
Yeah.
My Marin deck now is like it's completely jank, but I get to put in all different creatures. Anytime a new creature comes out, I'm like, oh, I'll throw this in, see how it works. Oh, I'll throw this in, see how it works. Right? There's technically only one card that I can't switch out of that deck because it's the way the whole deck works. It's the jank of the deck, right? My whole Marin deck now is just based on 4 MV, like 4 mana value, right? Every card, literally 99% of the cards that I pull on there are 4 mana value or less, right? But what I mean by 4 mana value or less, the ones that are less are pretty much just ramp cards, and literally 90% of the cards in that deck are 4 mana value.
Okay.
Yeah, because I have one creature in there that once I get it out, and with Marin, it literally essentially lets me tutor for any card in my deck.
Okay. Now, when it comes to making a deck from scratch, what do you prioritize? Do you prioritize bombs, utility, removal, certain like sorceries, instances, creatures? So let us know your thought process in regards to like making a commander deck from scratch. What is your checklist and what it needs to have? What is your priority and whatever else?
Okay, well, you out there a lot. There's a lot of YouTubers or whatever. They're posting like what the average deck should have, right?
Yeah.
Like it before, like they say they want 10. I'll just use Command Zone because they tend to be posting the same thing all the time, right?
Yeah.
They want like 10 mana ramp cards or 10 cards that ramp, right? 10 cards that give you extra draw. They want about like these numbers have changed recently for them. They're saying they want like about 7 to 8 targeted removal, and board wipes that used to be 5. Now they've dropped down to 2 to 3, right? That's the way the game has been going. And then after the rest of it, just synergies in the cards. But for me, that's a good basis for people who are really just starting off. It's a good basis to go with. But now mine are actually, every time I design a commander deck, I'm going based on what the commander does, right? Now, if that gives me a weakness, that also puts in an inherent weakness, right? If I base solely on what the commander does, then if my commander's not on the field, my deck might just flop. It won't do anything. If everybody keeps removing my commander, then I can't. Then I'll be at the point where like I won't be a threat at all, right? So I've adjusted that. I want to focus on what my commander does to use it to its optimum, but there's always going to be a little bit in there that is should something happen where I cannot get my commander out, like I'll have like a kind of like a secret or backup commander that can be used, or backup synergy that at least give me some sort of win con if I can fall into it.
Okay, that makes sense.
My decks will never be dead, right? Or the percentage of them being dead is not like 100%. It'll be like 80, 90%, whatever it is. So depending on what my commander is, like, okay, here, I have an Oboon deck, right? Oboon was that little pre-con commander deck that came out a while ago, one of those $20 ones, the cheap one.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And it's a Naya deck. And I love playing Oboon. I love this deck, right? Now, Oboon is like, his abilities are, he's a landfall deck, and for every land that comes onto the field, when Oboon is out, every land that hits the battlefield, you can put a +1/+1 counter on any creature you control, right? And then Oboon on combat, Oboon can animate one of your lands, and your lands are equal to your land's power. Your land gains trample and haste, and its power is equal to Oboon's. Its power and toughness are equal to what Oboon's power and toughness are, right? So in that deck, I literally have all my mana ramp are like green sorceries, right? Green sorceries to get more mana onto the field. I literally have no artifacts in that deck. artifact ramp has been completely eliminated. No soul ring, no arcane signet, no nothing like that, because it doesn't work with my commander. Right?
Yeah.
It won't power up my commander. So I essentially have everything, every ramp I have on that is just like something to get out more mana quicker. Right? And then I have cards in the deck that allow me to play multiple lands per turn. Because I want to power up Oboon as fast as possible and get in the trample damage. Like my land will do trample damage. It's not commander damage. It'll do trample damage. And my thing is every time I put a land into play, my +1/+1 counter is going on to Oboon, right? So he won't have trample, but he's going to get big, right? So by him getting big, that means he's harder to kill, and someone is going to have to chump block him because he can literally eliminate somebody by commander damage. But I'm not worried about that because my main damage going through is going to be a land that he's going to animate. Like I've had Oboon at Oboon on average gets easily up to 10 power, 10, 11 power. So I'll have like an 11/11 trampled land coming through. And you know how depressing it is for someone on the receiving end of an 11/11 trampled land to put their creatures in front of a land to try and block it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So, like, they can chump block Oboon all they want. That doesn't bother me. It's the land that's going to do the damage. And, an 11/11 land coming in with trample, that's 4 hits, you're dead. Right? Not counting Oboon if he gets through. So you're going to have to block Oboon. And then do you really want to waste any creatures on a trample land?
Yeah, you're right.
That's that deck is built like that. Now, if I have my Wilet deck, I have a Wilet deck. That deck has very little creatures, and it has very little creatures, and it has like a bunch of artifacts. And I don't care what the equip cost of the artifacts are, right? I don't care what this thing is because I have enchantments and other creatures that allow me to equip for free, right? That's the only creatures I have in there. All the creatures in that deck are just used to equip for free, right? They can do damage and everything, but the equipment is the main thing of that deck. And I'm using that one as a Voltron deck, right? For Wilet, but because of Wilet's ability, it's one of my favorite Boros decks of all time. Because literally, I've played against you guys, and you're like, holy shit, the card draw he's getting. I put an enchantment or a artifact on Wilet. Every time he attacks, just on the attack trigger, he draws cards for each enchantment or artifact on him. So I'm literally drawing an extra minimum one, most likely almost on average two or more cards per turn every time I attack with Wilet. So it's like one of the few Boros decks that you'll see where card draw is not a problem.
Okay.
So
now,
essentially, sorry.
Good.
I build around that commander.
Okay. Now, do you typically build decks that are not around your commander?
There is one, and it's a very janky deck. And I got the idea from I saw online. Idea for this deck, and I built according to the idea, but not the exact same way the person built it. And I actually really enjoy playing with that deck because it has, it's literally just a beat 'em up deck. There's no real infinite combo. There might be an infinite combo in there, but it's by pure accident. There's no intentional infinite combos in there. It's literally just a beat 'em up deck that can win in a variety of ways, and it's the Ur Dragon. The Ur Dragon the Ur Dragon is my commander, but the deck itself is tribal. So essentially, inside the deck, I have nothing but chameleons, right? Shapeshifters and everything, all creature types.
Yep.
So that having the Ur Dragon is literally inside the command zone, and I rarely pull it out.
So you just use it for the colors?
I just use it for the 5 colors. That's it. And the fact that it reduces all my creature spells of dragon type by 1. right? So that means all my chameleons come in one cheaper. But then
Okay.
inside the deck, inside the 99, I have like lords of different types. Like, I have a sliver that gives all my slivers haste. So essentially, once that's out on the battlefield, all my chameleons, they're all creature types, right? So that means
Yeah.
they get a reduction from Ur Dragon coming out, and then they're also considered slivers, so they all have haste. And
That's
that'll be
actually a
like,
pretty cool concept.
yeah, and that'll be the only thing. I also have Ren and Siri in there, so that if Ren and Siri is out, all my cats and dogs get +1/+1, and every time a dog hits the battlefield, I'll get a cat token. Every time a cat hits the battlefield, I'll get a dog token. So when a chameleon comes out, I get both.
Okay. Now moving to the land. Now everyone has a starting land number when they build a deck from scratch. Okay. What is your starting land number? And then how do you determine what number of land to have in your deck?
You know what? This is the one thing I agree with most people out there. My starting land number that I've seen that works the best, where I don't get too flooded most of the time, and I'm not short on land most of the time, is 37.
Okay.
And then depending on what the commander does and what my card draw ability is and everything like that, then I go down or up, right? So I'll give you the example for Abood. In that deck, I have 44 lands. Because I want the landfall triggers that Aboon gets, right? And the more lands I play, the stronger Aboon becomes. So, but in my Violet deck, I only have 34 lands. Because I know that with all the card draw, I'm always going to draw, most likely I'll be drawing a land. But on average, 37 is where I start with.
Okay, that's actually pretty cool. I forget what mine was. I was right at the top of my head. I thought like 35 is my starting, and then I go up or down from there depending on the color scheme, the creatures, and CMC and everything else like that. So yours is 37. I like that.
Yeah, 37, and from there I go up or down. And again, like, if you're playing in green, there's a lot of mana ramp that you can use, right? Like green mana ramp to draw your lands, get your lands out of your deck, and everything like that. So that usually if I'm playing in green, then I'll tend to go down in color. But Oboon's the exception because it's a landfall deck, so I want more lands in there, right? And if I'm playing an artifact deck, then I may have a little bit less lands in there because I'll have a lot of artifact ramp, right?
Yeah. Okay. Now, next topic that we're going to be talking about made a little stir in our Magic group. Okay, made a little stir in our Magic group. We've had, I think, 3 episodes about talking about this topic in different ways. But now I want to know, from your perspective, the guy who started it all in our group, what is your opinion on using proxies in Magic the Gathering Commander?
What's my opinion on using proxies? Okay. Obviously my opinion differs than most everybody else, because I guess they're looking at it. Well, from what I heard I didn't hear all your episodes on that. I did hear some. I heard one of them in particular where I think it was the first one where it was like really heated. But
yeah, if you want, we can go off of that as well, and I can tell you like the Cliff Notes versions of the other episodes as well. So if you want, we can go into the one that you heard just because it's fresh in your head. So
okay, I'll go with that one first. Okay, the first one I heard was very heated, and I can see where they're coming from, but they didn't. My point of view is this, okay, on proxies, I really don't care. I don't care if people wear proxies. Like, my opinion is this. Like, I've seen the prices of Magic cards, right? And people getting into the game now, right? If someone to join Magic right now, and they were to build a deck, right? And they did their best to build their deck with whatever they had, even if they bought a pre-con. We all know that a pre-con's chances of surviving against an optimized deck, not even a CDH, forget about CDH, but an optimized deck, the pre-con's chances of surviving an optimized deck are very low, right? The pre-cons are getting better gradually. They're really getting better. Like the newer ones are really, really good.
Yeah.
But they're surviving against an optimized deck or a group of optimized decks. The pre-cons are very low unless the person gets completely ignored, right? Their chances of winning are very low. So for me, like, you know, they're just getting in. They buy their pre-con. Yeah, there's the rule 0. You can talk, hey, this is just a pre-con, like, you know, and then people will respect that and everything like that, right? But you can't just go, okay, this is a pre-con, and then someone has their decks and all their decks are optimized, not CDH level, but they're optimized, and then you lose, and you get upset, right? Like you see all these cards, I'm like, oh wow, that card's nice. Like, oh man, I want to get that card. And then you go and look, and the card's like, you know, $80, right? And that's some of the cheaper ones, right? Or even $40. And you're like, wow, that's a lot of money for one card. So for me, I'm not there to play like, you know, if someone wants to proxy, even if they want to proxy their whole deck, whether they're trying it out, whether they're just doing it because they can't afford to get cards, right? Everybody's financial situation is different. Whether they're doing it because they can't afford to get cards, whether they're proxying it because they just want to try it out. If they're proxying it and their attitude is to pug stomp, then I guarantee you they probably don't even know how to play the deck with the proxies, right? I don't give a shit, right? I don't care, right? You want to proxy your deck? That's fine. I'm not playing against, I don't see it as playing against I'm playing against the person. You can have all the best cards in the world in your deck, right? I'm testing my skill versus your skill as a commander player, and skill and luck, because there's always luck involved. So I'm testing my skill versus your skill. So if someone has a proxy deck, whatever, and I'm playing them, and then they go and like say, oh, they proxied, oh man, I just blanked out. That mana, the blue instant that bounces everybody's non-land permanents. Cyclonic Rift.
Yes, so there we go.
I'm sitting there, I go into a full attack, I'm going to kill them, and then all of a sudden they go, oh, overloaded Cyclonic Rift, right? And it's a proxy. I'll be like sitting there going, I'll be like, damn it, should have seen that coming. Because it being a proxy or being the real card makes no friggin' difference to me, right? It's still a card that they would have put into their deck if they could afford it, correct?
Yeah.
That's how I see it. It would be a card that they designed when they were building their deck. This is a card I want in my deck. Whether they can afford it or not, that's not a factor, right? So what you're saying is people who don't like playing against proxies, to me, I'm like sitting there going, no offense to them. That's their choice. They can have it, but no offense to them. That's just showing me that, okay, so what you're afraid of people's wallets, right? You rather play against someone who can't afford these cards, so that if you can afford them, like, you have an advantage. In your eyes, you have an advantage because you have this really good card that's expensive and they couldn't afford it, right? I'm like sitting there going, I don't care about playing against people's wallets. What I care about is playing against their skills, right? So if someone wants to proxy, by all means, you can proxy any card you want. I don't care. That's my opinion. I can see from that first podcast that you guys did that wasn't the other person's opinion, right? And that's fine. That's fine. They can do that, but you know what? Don't blame the proxies. Like, you can proxy your whole deck for all I care. I'm playing against you. When I build my decks, I want to build them as optimal as possible. But after listening to that podcast, I was like, okay, so they obviously don't see it in the way I see it. They took offense, and that's fine. I understand. So then I made, like, you know, I've recently been changing my decks to have no proxies to only have proxies of cards that I already own, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is this. Since we started playing, I've actually gotten a lot more cards. And there's a lot of expensive ones that I've gotten in there. So if they think that they're not going to see these expensive cards show up, and all of a sudden, oh, why the hell do you have a proxy of a card you don't own? I'm like, oh, I do own it. I've purchased all the Shocklands. And because of the new release, I've just gotten all the pay fetch lands, right?
Yeah.
So I've gotten one of each. I've got multiples. I've got one of each, but I'm not gonna be switching them out of decks. I'm just gonna proxy them and put them in the decks, and I'm actually gonna start putting them all aside in a binder, just so if anybody questions it, I'm like, here it is.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
But like, my CDH decks, right? In case I want to play, that's the one thing I like about the CDH players, right? When you see most of them, not all of them, this doesn't apply to everybody, but in general, when you're playing CDH players, they don't give a shit if you have proxies, because they're playing against the player. They're testing their skills against the other person's skills. It doesn't matter what cards you have in your deck. You're testing your skills against that person's skills and that person's deck building skill. Right? That's the one thing that I do like over CDH over casual. Right? Because a lot of people who play casual, they're just like, they get too offended by stuff. I'm like, well, you don't own the card, so why the hell are you playing that card? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like sitting there going, calm down, man. Like, if you want to play a casual game, that's fine. And I can make casual decks. They'll still have powerful cards in the casual deck. Right? Just because the deck is casual, it still can have powerful cards. Like, you'll still see, like, someone made a claim. I saw someone claim, oh, if the deck's casual, it can't have like, Mana Crypt in there. And I'm like, why? Why can't it have Mana Crypt if it's a casual deck? What's your definition of casual? Is your definition of casual being cards that are like less than $1, less than $5, less than $10? You can't use that definition, because no matter what, every time a card comes out, if it becomes really hot card, it'll go up in price. Right? So when you build a deck, and perfect example is Mitch, right? When he started doing his commander quarters, and he started doing his decks for $25, right? His budget decks for $25. He was
his budget decks aren't those priced anymore, because all those card prices have gone up.
Exactly my point. So how can you claim that a casual deck can't have a certain card because of its price? When you built it, like, you may have built a casual deck, like, oh, it was cheap, whatever. Like, actually, most of our players, like, look at Mark, right? Coastal Dynasty, right? At Coastal Dynasty, he's already told, like, he's checked the value of his decks, right? When he built it, it cost him like, $50. Now his deck is like $600 with the same cards that he put in there originally.
Yeah.
So
just because over time and how popular those cards are.
Yeah, you can't define a casual deck by the price of the cards that are in it. That's ridiculous. That's like a losing argument in itself. And I'm sure people will comment. Feel free to comment below. I know everybody's going to have their comments. There's going to be haters, and that's fine. And I can understand that. But I'll respect that. I understand that, right? But don't come and say that a casual deck can't have these cards in it because they're too expensive. The only time I'd even come close to agreeing with that is if you want to use reserve list cards, right?
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I understand that.
Yeah, reserve list cards. I feel first of all, I feel reserve list is bullshit, right? And if you want to think about that, just look at Birds of Paradise, Alpha Birds of Paradise compared to all the reprints. Just look at the prices of those.
Yeah.
Right. The latest reprint of Birds of Paradise is what, $7, right? Now you go to Alpha print of Birds of Paradise, it's over 3,000. So
and like, I have a bunch of copies of Birds of Paradise.
Exactly.
Right? And like, I'd rather just have the reprints.
Yeah, exactly. So this reserve list thing is another bullshit, but that's a whole new topic. Yeah, but that's my point. That's my point on reprints. I'm playing the person's deck building. I'm playing against the person's deck building ability and his skill playing the deck. I'm not playing against the cards he has in the deck. That means nothing to me. Right? You can have all the best cards in the deck and still lose because you're a terrible player.
Now, in regards to like my opinion on proxies, I'm not going to speak for Coastal just because I don't really remember his. Also, please know, like, I've been awake for like 36 hours straight now because I'm just got off nights. So I got 14 hours ahead of me before I get back home, and I'm going to try and drive straight through it. So I'll probably be awake for 48 hours. So we'll see how this goes.
Stay safe there, buddy.
Oh, I will. I'll pull over and nap whenever I need to. But my opinion on proxies is I will only proxy on one of two occasions. One, if there is a deck that I want to make, but I don't have the cards, but I want to play it to test out the deck. Okay. And number two, if I like, you know me, I have a lot of 5-color decks.
Yeah.
Right. And all those 5-color decks, they need very expensive land in order for it to function, at least in a good standing matter, correct?
Yep.
Now, I'm not going to be buying those expensive lands 7-10 times over to those 5-color decks. If I already own the card, like you said, I'll just proxy it for the other decks.
Exactly.
So those are my two standings in regards to using proxies. Before I was like, why would you use proxies? Like, let's just buy the real fucking card. Like, who fucking cares? Like, don't use proxies. I don't want to. But then I realized, I'm like, proxies is a smart alternative to maintaining one, deck management, because now you don't have to take cards from one deck into another. And then if you're going to play that other deck, you're like, oh, fuck, where are my cards? I'm like, oh, yeah, they're in this deck, I think. I have to pull them out and put them back into the sleeves. It's easier deck management. It saves you more money, and it's less of a headache in my eyes.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I agree. I'm like, barring any, like, monetary tournaments that you may go to, right? You're not allowed to use proxies in monetary tournaments. And that's fine. That's no problem, right?
Yes, I agree with that. When it comes to anything that's, if there's anything on the line, either cards, money, or whatever else, I think proxies is a no-go. Use the real deal cards. Don't cheat like that, because that's essentially cheating.
Yeah, yeah. They see it as cheating, right? I'm not that harsh on it. I don't see it as cheating. Like, again, you're still testing people's skills and deck building ability. They just don't have the money to have that card in their deck. And that's like, who can afford dual lands right now, right? Unless you were playing from the beginning. There's no way you can afford dual lands because they're on the reserve list, right? And if the reserve list didn't exist, then all these crazy expensive cards, Wheel of Fortune, dual lands, whatever, like especially dual lands, right? Those things, they can all be reprinted. The originals will still retain 90% of their value, right? Because they're from the original reserve list, right? From the original, like alpha, beta, right? Or unlimited. They still retain their value. And then like the new reprints would be like cheaper. And I guarantee you they still go up in price.
Oh, of course, man. Of course.
Yeah. But at least now more people would have access to this. So essentially, to me, like I said, like, I understand why tournaments require the original card, and that's fine. That's no problem. I have no issues with that, right? But if I was ever in charge of a tournament and people wanted to enter and there's like a prize, if I was the one running the tournament and there's prize for the thing, I wouldn't care if people proxy their decks. If it's going to be a CDH tournament where they're going to go, I wouldn't care if people proxy their decks. If it was going to be a casual tournament where there's restrictions onto what your deck can do or like whatever, right? I wouldn't care if people proxy their decks because you're testing a person's skill versus a person's skill, right? So what you're saying is, pretty much what you're saying is people who have the money were fortunate enough to have these cards originally, or have the money to purchase these crazy expensive lands and everything. Like, I see it as, okay, so what you're saying is any tournament that requires this, pretty much like they're going to have a whatever 1%, 2%, 3% better chance of winning because they had the money for the cards, right?
Yeah.
So if you kind of look at it, it's a stretch, but if you kind of look at it, it's like saying, oh, you know what? The rich get richer. They can pay to win. You know what I'm
Yeah,
getting?
exactly.
They can pay to win. They had the money to have, they were either lucky enough or have the money to have those cards in their deck ahead of this tournament, the originals, so that, oh, okay, you know what? Yeah, you guys already have more money. They can pay to win. So someone who just got into the game, whatever, can't afford to buy those cards. They want to enter the tournament. They have a deck they want to try out. They want to enter the tournament, but they can't afford the top-notch cards for their deck. I'm like sitting there going, well, good luck with you. Hopefully you can win with your deck. Hopefully you get lucky enough. And yeah, maybe they will. Maybe they will get lucky enough, right? But you're giving an advantage to the people who have the money. So that's why I don't feel like there's an issue with proxy. But again, that's my opinion. Everybody has their own opinion. And don't get me wrong, I can see where the other opinion applies, right? Because then, like, well, why the hell did I have to spend all the money on these cards to get into this tournament, right? If someone bought the money, whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
And like, you're right. Because like essentially Magic is pay to win, right?
Exactly.
The more money you put in, the more likely you're going to win.
Well, the better your chances.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's just my opinion, right? And I guarantee you a lot of people are going to disagree and have comments to say, and please feel free to leave your comments.
Yeah,
I'll read all of them. But if you're going to leave a comment, at least
stuff,
the reason
because
behind it.
Just because this is a very opinionated topic. It can go either way. You can be on one side of the fence or the other. There's fairly equal grounds for people to be on both sides, but usually it's one side or the other. It's yes, you use them, or no, you don't, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's fine. And that's where Rule Zero comes in, right?
Now, if your play group has a bad rap of using Rule Zero, then that is your fault and your group's fault for not actually talking about it. Okay, so don't blame the cards. Don't blame the people's budgets. It's your group's fault for not communicating properly, right? So make sure you have good communication going into your games or going into your LGSs and playing games there, because the last thing you want is for you to get butthurt or for the person you're playing against to get butthurt because they didn't know that you were playing with proxies or vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. And on the other hand, too, like, when you go into your LGS or whatever, right? Your play group, you guys tend to know each other better, right? But when you go into the LGS and play against other people, just let them know, hey, this deck is like, this is how it's designed to do. It's pretty optimized. I'm using proxies for some of this stuff. They're not going to look ugly on the table, right? They look like the exact cards and everything like that. But I just need to know if you guys have an issue with that, I won't play the deck. Right?
Yeah. And that's a very responsible thing to do, to be honest with you.
Yeah, exactly. Right? If they're really worried about playing against the proxies, that's their prerogative, and that's fine. That's their choice. Right?
And that's their choice to walk away from the table. Like, no, you don't want to play? Okay, don't play. Yeah. That's fine. I'll find someone else to play with.
Exactly. If someone came up and like if we were playing in LGS and someone came up, hey, I have this deck. I tried to build it as powerful as I can and everything. But like, it's like, even if they said if they have 10 proxies, or if they said they had the whole deck as proxy, right? I'd be like, yeah, sure, sit down. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it does. Right? Let the person trial the deck, see if it's as good as they think it is, or if it's not, right? I've known people who've made a deck all proxies and they kept playing it and they loved the deck. They loved the deck, right? And they made it all proxies and they slowly purchased every card in that deck so that it became a legitimate deck without any proxies. It took them like 2 years, but they kept playing the deck. They loved the deck. And every time they could, they'd get a new card.
Honestly, I think that'd be my way of approaching Blue Artificer CDH.
Urza?
Yeah, Urza. There we go. That'd be my way of doing that. Honestly, the only reason why I might proxy an Urza deck is because I own 80% of the cards anyways. The 20% of cards that I don't own are the expensive ones.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. Yeah, like Urza's a CDH commander, right? It's really hard to even build that deck weak. Even as
Yeah,
you said, like you have 80% of the cards, right? You could still, like, even without those crazy expensive cards, you could still build a deck, and that damn thing would be at least level 8, if not 9.
yeah,
Right? It's like Urza's just a super powerful commander. And that's the thing. Like, when you have a commander like that, like I've heard you talk about this before, and you've even said it yourself. When you have a commander like that, expect to be the target.
yeah. Expect to
You
be
can't sit
attacked,
there and get
expect to be
salty.
targeted, expect to lose.
Yeah, you can't sit there and be salty, right? You can't sit there and be salty when you have a commander like that, because of the fact that if your commander goes off, if anybody takes pity on you because, say, you're mana screwed or whatever, right? And then that commander goes off, like within one turn, you could be like the weakest person on the table and all of a sudden be on a dominating position where you're going to win, right? So it's like you gotta expect that. That's right. Like last time we played, one of our, I'm not going to mention names, who's playing Urza, and his commander got taken out right away. He lost his commander. Like not back to the thing. His commander got stolen, right? And for the rest of the game, he couldn't do anything because he couldn't get Urza back.
Yeah,
Right?
I remember that game. That was a funny ass game, dude.
Yeah, he couldn't do anything because he couldn't get Urza back, so he ended up losing. Right? He stayed in the game, but he could not get Urza back. For some reason, I don't know if he didn't have the cards or he just didn't draw them. Right?
It's because he didn't have removal.
Yeah.
There wasn't a way to remove the card that was holding his essentially commander hostage.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So it's like I'm like sitting there going, this is based on your deck building ability, man. You got to understand. Like everybody builds Urza with the intention of winning, right? But they got to have interaction, because I'm telling you, when you build a commander like that, you're going to get hate. It's going to be okay. I know I'm building Urza. I'm going to get hated on. I got to make sure that I can do something to keep my commander or stop the hate. And you got to think of it that you're going to be arch enemy, unless there's another top tier commander at the same table playing. You're going to be arch enemy, and it's going to be 3 versus 1.
And Rui, let's be real here. If you bring out Urza or another CDH deck, you better know how to play that deck.
Oh yeah.
Let's be real here. Don't be bringing out a CDH deck expecting to win when you don't know how the mechanics work of that actual deck itself.
Exactly.
Because that's in my eyes, that's bullshit. Don't expect to win if you don't even know what your cards do or how they interact with each other.
Exactly my point. That's exactly true, and I agree with you fully. Right? That's why. Like, look at it this way. See, you have a deck. Well, you have multiple good decks, but you have one deck that I've gotten to the point now, because I've given you opportunities and then you take over the game with it. Right? When you're doing bad. Right? I've gotten to the point where I look at you and I don't take any pity. I'll just take you out.
Which deck would that be?
Your Krenko deck.
Oh, right? Krenko, yeah. When it comes to Krenko, it's either you take out Krenko the second he hits the board, or if you don't, you lose. That's essentially what it is.
Exactly, right? So I've seen where, like, okay, you got mana screwed. There's a game you were playing, you got mana screwed, right? And you couldn't get Krenko out. Everybody else is going off, and they completely ignored you, right? And then all of a sudden you got Krenko out, and then like within 2 turns you had an army out there, and I'm like thinking to myself, and I didn't have a board wipe. I knew I had board wipes in my damn deck, but I didn't draw any. And I'm like thinking to myself, shit, this is gonna suck. I'm not gonna be able to stop him, right? And then, like, within 2 turns later, you killed us all. And I'm like thinking to myself, and I went, okay, never again, man. I'm not taking pity on AJ. I don't care if he's mana screwed. I don't care what's happening. If he's playing Krenko, I kill him.
and to be real, that is not being that's not you being an asshole. That's you playing the game and you playing the man behind the deck.
Exactly. Right. I know what you could do with Krenko. I know you know how to play. So I'm like sitting there going like, nope. If he's playing Krenko, I kill him. I kill him right away. I'm not letting him get Krenko out. Right. If I can't stop you from getting Krenko out, then I'm just going to keep attacking you so that you have to any creatures you create, you're either going to sacrifice them to my guys or not. And if no one else wants to pay attention, that's on them. Right. When they end up losing the game, like, there's been times where I'm the only one attacking you and no one else is attacking you. They're attacking me or attacking everybody else because they think, oh, they're in a stronger board position. You're in a stronger board position. And I'm like thinking to myself, and I try and argue with them. And then you sweet talk him. And I'm like, stop listening to him. He's playing Krenko. He's playing Krenko. I'm telling you, within a couple of turns, we'll all be dead. And he's like, and they're like not listening. And then all of a sudden they die. And then again, the same thing happens. And next time you play Krenko, it could be like a couple of weeks later or something. And they do the same shit again. And I'm like, you idiots. He's playing Krenko. Kill him.
That's so funny.
Right? And that's the thing. Krenko is like, he's one of those, see that the Krenko's really bad to play as being the person running Krenko because of two things. One, he's not quite CEDH. And two, he's not quite casual. You really can't have a casual Krenko deck, right?
That's true. Like, when it comes to goblins and Krenko, like, it's exactly kind of like the Urza situation. Like, it doesn't matter how you build it. If you have 80% of the cards, like, it will go off.
Yeah. So that's why, right? That's one of those decks where it's like I kind of feel bad, but I'm like, I can't. I got to kill him because I know what that deck could do. I know what that deck can do. Like, I know what Krenko can do, and AJ knows how to play him. So I got to kill him.
Yeah. And I'm going to be honest with you. When it comes to, like, our play group especially, right, I would rather have a casual or optimized deck that I know, like, the back of my hand playing on a field rather than having the number one commander deck in the world and not knowing how to play it.
Exactly.
Because I guarantee you, I would be able to win with that casual, janky, or optimized deck that I know like the back of my hand than playing that overpowered CDH deck. And I think all of us it has that same opinion, 100%.
Well, yeah. That's the thing. Like, that's why I don't mind playing CDH, but you know what bothers me about it now is the fact that all the win conditions, all the strategies for winning, like 99% of strategies are all the same, right? When you build a CDH deck, your main goal is to get to this win condition, and every other card in your deck is to help protect you getting to that win condition, right? So you're going to win all the same time. And this is why I changed, like, I prefer more janky decks and more casual play. Like, I still want powerful decks, right? But I prefer them more janky because then there's multiple options to winning, right? There's multiple ways you can win and everything. And that's why, like, my last deck that I made, my last powerful commander I made was Orvar, the All Form. Yeah. Right? I played that deck twice. It has never lost yet. The deck has never lost yet. And every time it's won, it's pretty much following the same pattern. And I literally, after playing it twice, I got bored. I'm taking the deck apart. Like, the deck is coming apart because. And I purposely made the deck weaker. I didn't put no Thassa's Oracle, no Jace the Mind Skull, not Jace the Mind Skull, or Jace Wielder of Mysteries, or Lab Maniac in there. I didn't want that win condition, right? And in both of the times I've won, I could have won with that win condition on turn 3 or 4, right? But I ended up dragging the game out because I created infinite mana, and I was just trying to get to a card that would give me a win condition. So I designed the deck to win by combat, right? I just create an infinite amount of creatures and kill everybody. I can always get, like, by turn 3 or 4, I'm already creating infinite mana all the time.
And it's more fun playing jankier decks because the games are longer. There's more back and forth. It's not necessarily one-sided.
Exactly.
Right? Like, one-sided games are no fun. It's always fun when they go back and forth, and when each player can accomplish something.
Exactly. And that's why, like, I don't mind having my CH decks. That's why I dropped it down to 2, like Najila and Winota, because those are CDH decks, but they're both combat based, right?
Yeah.
Like Najila, I even depowered Najila a bit. She's not like a 10 level. I put her down to a 9 level because of the fact that I want her more like her win condition is by combat, right? I got rid of the demonic consultation and all that stuff. There's no Thassa's Oracle. There's none of that stuff in there, right? So I brought her down to a level 9. And Winota is the same thing. Well, Winota is like, at the max, Winota is like a level 9, right? Because it's a win by combat deck, right? Stacks the other people out and win by combat, right? So those are the only 2 CH decks I kept. I'm taking apart Orvar because it's like boring. It's just the same win condition all the time, right? I did it twice. I won twice. I've never lost with the deck, and it just keeps doing the same thing. And I have so much interaction that even though I had infinite mana last time I won, I had infinite mana for 3 turns, right? And all I was doing was waiting to get a creature that I could copy multiple times and kill everybody with, right? And everybody else at the table, all 3 people were trying to stop me. They were trying to get rid of my infinite mana. They're trying to get rid of my artifacts. They did. And I'm like, and I let them. But I had so much interaction that they could not get rid of my, no matter what they did to set me back, as soon as I got my turn, I'd get infinite mana again instantaneously. So it was like just so boring to do that. And that's the same thing. That's why I also took apart my Chulane deck, or Hulan, however you want to pronounce it. I took that deck apart because it's the same thing. It's like a 20-minute turn, and I just keep going. And then all of a sudden, my board state is just too big, and no one can deal with it, right? And even if you board wipe me, it's like for me to recover, it's like 1 turn, and I'm all over again, right? So it got boring for me too.
Now, do you want to move on to this last topic?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So this one, as well as the proxies, has caused a stir in regards to different opinions in our play group, which is honestly totally fair. Because in my eyes, people should just be able to play Magic. That is my short Cliff Notes version of my opinion about this topic. But Rui, let's go in depth with it, okay?
Okay.
Now, next topic is going to be the ban list, okay, and everything that comes with it. Okay, the rules committee, the advisory group, whatever it is, okay? So, Rui, do you mind explaining what the ban list is, what the rules committee is, and what this advisory group is?
Okay. Well, first off, the ban list is certain cards that are no longer allowed to be used in Commander. Like every format has its own ban list, but we're talking about Commander here. So the ban list is a certain cards, particular cards that are no longer allowed to be used in Commander gameplay, right? Under the Rules Committee. The Rules Committee is independent of Wizards of the Coast because Commander was created not by Wizards of the Coast. It's just become the most popular format for Magic. But the Rules Committee are the ones who determine which cards get banned and which cards don't, right? And I think it's a group of 8 people. I'm not sure. Like I know Sheldon Menery's like one of the heads of the Rules Committee. The rest of the people, I have to look up all their names. But they're the ones who decide what cards get banned and what cards don't. And according to what they've described, they monitor how Commander is played, whatever, in general. I don't know what statistics they're following or who they're actually talking to. They supposedly claim that they listen to people's complaints about certain cards and problematic cards and everything like that. And that's how they do their basis of banning cards. Now, as for this people that they're listening to or the what the complaints are, I really don't know what the statistics of these people that they're listening to, but based on the outbursts and and people talking, it's like it's not the way they claim. They use very broad terms. Like they say, well, the majority of people are complaining that this card is a problem, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like sitting there going, what majority? Like none of us in our play group talked about it. I've talked to other people. I go online. I'm like, there is some people that do complain about the card, but then there's like just as much, if not many more, who are like, no, there's nothing wrong with that card. So I have no idea what they use for their terminology. Now, the Commander Advisory Board, the CAG, Commander Rules Advisory Board, they're a group of people. I think there's 8, maybe 9 now. Like Josh Lee Kwai is one of them. Olivia Gilbert Hicks is another. There's a few others I'm blanking on their names. There's 9 of them in there, and their job, they have no real power. They're just there to advise the rules committee. Like, when the rules committee are like, oh, we're looking to ban this card, we're looking to do this. They're there to advise the rules committee and say, well, you know what? I can see that card's a problem. Maybe it's a good idea to ban it, or no, I don't think you should ban that card. Like, wait a little bit because it's like, it's too new. It hasn't really done anything, right? That's their purpose.
Yeah.
Is they're there just to advise. They have no say on what gets banned or not. They're just there as extra ears, like, because they have their own contacts, so they see what's going on around the Commander community in general, right? So it's more expansive than the rules committee. And they go based on what they've seen, like, does that card deserve a ban? Yeah, no, whatever, right? Maybe, and everything. So that's how those 3 work. Okay.
So now that those listening at home know what those 3 are, Rui, just give me a yes or no for this one. Just a yes or no, okay?
Okay.
Do you agree with the ban list?
No.
Okay. Now, the reason why we're going to be talking about his disagreements of the ban list is because of a certain card that happened, what is it, a month ago, 2 months ago? Maybe 3?
Yeah.
The Golos, right? Is that right?
Oh, the Golos, yeah, that was like a month ago.
Yeah. So this whole conversation on the ban list and whatever else all started with the Golos ban. Okay. And now from what I've seen, and I'm going to use terminology that the rules committee has used, majority of players disagree with this ban. Now, Rui, do you disagree with this ban?
Oh, completely.
Why?
It was a joke.
So why do you disagree with it?
Okay, there's multiple reasons. First off, the reasoning that the rules committee give, which I can't quote because I don't have it in front of me, their exact terminology, they saying it promotes too much of the same stuff. I think that's not the words they use, but they're saying like Golos, like, why use any other commander if Golos works better, right? For building decks and everything like that. And I'm like thinking to myself, oh my God, you guys are hypocrites, because first off, Golos, yes, I'm not going to deny this. Golos is a very powerful commander. Or was I mad about the Golos ban because I had a Golos deck and I'm like disappointed I can't play anymore? No, I don't have a Golos deck. I never had a Golos deck. I didn't even care to build a Golos deck because for me, it's not a challenge to build a Golos deck, right? Anybody can build a Golos deck, but the Golos deck is good for new people, especially coming in who are trying to build their first deck, who have no experience, who are trying to get, like, they have an idea, they want to try it out, right? They need 5 colors, or they don't need 5 colors, who knows? But they want to build a Golos deck and interact, and at least it gives them an advantage. It's easy to build a Golos deck. It's very easy. You can build any Golos deck, and it will be functional, even if you have no experience building your Golos deck. So now you've just denied all those people that. Plus, on top of that, it was the most popular commander of all time. So how many people, it had over 6,000 or 7,000 decks, or whatever it was on EDH Rec, and that doesn't count the people that don't even register the deck. So you're probably looking over 10,000 decks that you just cut out because, we find that this commander promotes this. I didn't hear a single person complaining about goals. After the ban, then you hear some people going, "Oh, I'm glad goals is banned." Like, I was sick and tired of seeing it. I'm like sitting there going, really? You're entitled to your opinion, but don't start making excuses, right? And when someone says, "Oh, I'm sick and tired of seeing it because it was too powerful, it was too this, too that," yeah, there are people who will build a powerful goals deck, but it's not even CEDH. CEDH doesn't even use goals, and that's the most powerful decks. If you want to complain about commanders, why don't you just complain about CDH commanders then? If you're talking about being too powerful, well, it's too powerful for casual. I'm like, no, it's probably on the level of Krenko, and not even, because Krenko's easier to make. Like I said, Krenko's in that zone where it's like it's too powerful for casual, but it's not powerful enough for CEDH, right? Like, it can hang, but just barely. And that's where goals falls, and even lower than Krenko, right? So their the reasoning didn't justify the banning, right? And that's what I don't like about the rules committee. They start reasoning for reasons that don't just, like, their explanations that they give out don't justify their bans. And that's what irritated me about the goalless ban. I'm like, I didn't have a goalless deck. I wasn't planning on building a goalless deck because it's too easy. For me, it was too easy to build a goalless deck. I'd rather do something more janky, something more difficult, and more challenging, right? But now you're denying people playing goals. Like, I don't want playing against goalless decks. Anybody who plays against a goalless deck, even if they don't like playing against goalless decks, you want to know something? You already know. Okay, this guy has a powerful goalless deck. You got burned by it once. Make sure he doesn't get goalless on the field, right? Or if goalless is on the field, get rid of him, exile him. Yeah, he got a bonus land, but that's like okay, play an exploration first round. Then you can play 2 lands per turn, right? It's like, it's easily manageable. And on top of that, if you're really having an issue with golos in your play group, right? Then just say, "Hey man, if we're gonna play, I really don't like playing against golos. Can you just play it once tonight and that's it? Whatever." And I'm like, just have the rule 0 conversation, right? They keep promoting this rule 0 conversation, and this is the other thing that irritates me about the bans. They keep promoting rule 0 conversation, and every card for majority, and I'll say majority, the majority, 99% of the cards that they ban, if they had a rule 0 conversation, there'd be no issues, right? Why promote the rule 0 conversation if you're just going to ban the card because you don't like the play style? Like, in my opinion, it's getting to the point where the rules committee is banning cards because they personally, as in them personally, don't like the play style. They find a few, like, maybe I'll say, and I'm going to be gracious, I'll say 10% of the commander community, right? And there's millions of people playing, right? They'll find 10% of the commander community that agrees with what they want to do. And then, okay, well, that's a reason enough for us to ban it, right? Because they, as in them personally, don't like the choice to ban. Now, I found out that the Commander Rules Advisory Board went and told them, don't ban goals. It's not a good idea. It's not that much of a problem. It's not a problem. They haven't seen the issues of being a problem significantly at all, right? 9 out of, I think, or 8 out of the 10, 8 out of the 9, or 7 out of the 8, whatever, however many people are on the Commander Advisory Board, the CAG, voted against banning goals. So only one person said, yeah, go ahead. And then that's the advisory board to the rules committee. They emphatically 90% voted against banning goals, and the rules committee still banned it. So now I pose a question to you. What's the purpose of having a CAG, a Commander Advisory Board, if you're not even going to listen to them?
I think when it comes to this, like, I'm not going to put words in anyone's mouth or whatever, but there could be ulterior motives to it. Because I've heard rumors of them Like, this is a shot fired to Wizards on do not make commanders like this. Right? Like, it could be that. It could be them trying to affect the market. Essentially, at the end of the day, I don't like the decision only because they are banning a commander card, which means they're banning people's decks. That's 100 cards that they're banning.
Yeah.
If it was a non-commander card, fuck it, who cares? Whatever, I still got my commander. The deck's still useful. I can switch out that one card for something else. But if you ban a commander, that's 100 cards you're getting rid of, essentially.
Yep.
And that I don't agree with.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I agree with your point too, but I just go further. Like, I don't, like I said, I don't agree with most of the bans that are out there. And I'm like, okay, they banned Golos. They banned Hull Breacher before that. I'm like, holy cow. And they banned Hull Breacher because of the effect that people were abusing it with wheels, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, whatever, fine. Like, I didn't use Hull Breacher in that way. And I can understand, like, maybe in CDH that's a big problem, but they're saying, oh yeah, that's happening in casual commander. They're abusing it with wheels and everything like that. I'm like, fine, have a rule zero conversation, right? There's been rule zero conversation where people say, yeah, there's a Hull Breacher in this deck, a wheels Hull Breacher. And you're like, okay, so they know, right? You're going to have decks with interaction, right? Now, people use this argument, and I find it's the weakest argument of all time. They go, when they banned a card, like, why should I have, like, they banned Hull Breacher, and I'm like, and I'm having an argument. I'm having discussion. And they go, like, I'm glad that Hull Breacher's banned. It's like running rampant in our play group and everything. Like, the wheel Hull Breacher combo, then we have no cards, we can't play and everything like that. And I'm like thinking to myself, well, okay, if you know that that's there, why don't you just hold up interaction for it? And he goes, okay, so now because they're playing Hull Breacher, I have to play one more interaction spell in my deck so that I can't play something else. Like I have to have my deck full of interaction spells and everything like that to cancel a Hull Breacher. I'm like, well, hold on a second. If you're playing a deck with no interaction, how do you even expect to win? Because do you expect to go off before the other person goes off? If you do, then you're playing CDH. And even then, they have interaction because they have to protect their win con, right? If you're playing casual with no interaction, you literally have like a 1% chance of ever winning any games.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
Interaction. So you using the argument that, well, I have to put more interaction in? No, you have to have interaction in your deck anyway. Whether it's Hull Breacher, whether it's the wheel. I can't stand wheels. Like, if I have a good hand and someone goes to wheels, I'm like, shit. Right? And if I had a counter spell to counter it and I didn't leave out mana, that's on me. I don't blame that other person. They're playing their deck. They're playing to win. I'm playing to win. It's my fault for not holding up mana, or my fault for not having another interaction. Or, hey, I didn't draw the interaction. I didn't have it in my hand. I couldn't affect that wheel. Hey, that's the way things go. That's just the way the game goes. If they wheel, they Hull Breacher, and then they win the game, fine. Shuffle up, play again. I'll make sure that they won't pull that Hull Breacher again on me. Right? And
yeah, no, honestly, you have a good point, man. You 100% have a good point.
I'm like sitting there going, you can't use that argument. That's the weakest argument I've ever heard. And hey, like I said, everybody out there, feel free to make your comments. I'll listen to them all, right? And like, if you just want to pug stomp and vent and everything, like, we're just gonna ignore those. But hey, if you have a reasoning for whatever, put your reason there, right? Everybody, like I said, I know a lot of people won't agree, and some people will, right? And I'm willing to listen to every comment, but at least provide a reason. Don't just say, "Oh, that's bullshit. You don't know what you're talking about." Whatever. Yeah, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion, but that's not a reason.
Now, moving forward with this ban list, Rui, What do you think the rules committee should avoid doing?
Well, see, this is my opinion. Like, personally, they keep banning cards. Like, in my opinion, they keep banning cards that they don't see as good for casual, right? So, like, from what I can see from the cards they banned, they're banning interactive cards or cards that don't allow you to play or give too much advantage, way too much advantage to whoever's playing the card, right? And don't get me wrong, I can see where some of those cards where they have a reason to ban them, right? Like Leovold. I can see why they wanted to ban Leovold. Are there cards in the game that do what Leovold does? Yes, there are a bunch of cards in the game that do what Leovold does. The difference is Leovold is in your command zone, right? So that's a distinct advantage. So I can see why they banned Leovold, right? Do I agree with it? I can still see it. It can still be dealt with, but fine, right? That I can see. But then they have cards that are banned for no reason whatsoever. I mean, like Biorhythm. Why is Biorhythm banned? Right? It's like so expensive to do Biorhythm, to get Biorhythm out and play it and actually win. Like, you know, it's not like a win. It's not a win instantaneously card. Right? They have like, you know, they just unbanned Worldfire. Right? They had Worldfire banned. Have you seen Worldfire go rampant in the Commander community?
No, you rarely see it.
Yeah. Have you heard about it going rampant in the Commander community?
No.
Right? What's the difference to now to when it was banned way back when? I mean, it's still 9 mana. What is it, 9 mana to get out? 3 red? Like 6 and 3 red or something like that? It's like,
here's the thing, you get more grief from people playing like Krinko or Slivers, right, than you do from these individual cards.
Exactly. Like, I hate playing against Slivers deck because I know how they go off, right? And that's why when I see someone playing Slivers, I go and kill that guy first. AKA AJ, Caramel Thunder.
Also, like, you would think Blightsteel would be banned too. Blightsteel Colossus.
Yeah, because that's the thing. They didn't ban Blightsteel. You want to know why? I've heard people complaining about, oh, let's ban Blightsteel, whatever, that card's killed me. How many times has that card actually won a game?
Right? Not to mention how expensive is the damn card.
Trample Infect, right? If you, like, you know, you may lose to it once. If someone has it in their deck and they pop it out on you, whatever, you may lose to it once. I guarantee you're never going to lose that card again. You're going to be ready every time they try and play that card. Right? You're either going to have like exile effects like white, Path to Exile, Sword Plowshares, etc. and so forth. Bounce spells in blue, multiple bounce spells in blue, even red, Tybalt's Trickery, etc. and so forth. Like, you know, there's so many cards and multicolored cards on top of that. Like, Blightsteel's indestructible, so you're just going to exile. Or you're going to put a bunch of chump walkers in there, and, you know, whoever plays that Blightsteel, they may kill one person. Maybe if they're really lucky and no one else has an interaction, they may have killed 2. But I guarantee you, as soon as you put a Blightsteel on the field, you're target enemy number 1.
Oh yeah, because that's a one-hit kill.
Yeah, it's a one-hit kill. If anybody, all 3 of them are going to be talking like, okay, how the hell can we get rid of this thing? How can we do this? How can we, you know, stop this? Whatever, right? So it's like that's why the card's not even worth banning, right? And if they ban Blightsteel, would I give a shit? Not really. I don't play it. Actually, I don't even have the card. But even if I did, I don't know if I'd play it, right? And on top of that, like, what's the purpose? It's not CDH level. Is it because it's too expensive for CDH? There's no way they'll play it there. It's a casual commander card, like in Commander, right? It only goes into 99. It's not legendary.
Yeah.
Right?
It'd be cool if it was a legendary card, actually.
Yeah, it'd be cool, right? But the thing is, though, it's like a hate on site card, right? There's plenty of hate on site cards. And everybody, like, you know, yeah, will these cards win? Yeah, they'll maybe kill somebody. They'll do this. They'll do that. and everything. And it's like, still, there's no reason to ban it, right? There's so many cards that are on the ban list that don't need to be banned, right? They're so worried. I guarantee you, if they were to unban every card that's banned, right? If the rules committee were to unban every card that's banned, give it a few months, see how the Commander community responds, right? I'm pretty sure CDH would see a change in play. Leovold would probably start showing up in CDH. I don't know if it'd be fast enough, but it probably would, because it would be like a stacked Commander in CDH. Would it show up in casual? Maybe, maybe not. Well, will it have an effect? Yeah, Leovold will have an effect, right? But I'm guaranteeing you people are going to start adjusting for it. Raffaello, right? That one, prime time. That one, oh yeah, everybody's going to try and play prime time. Get two force, right? Every green will probably have it. It'll be an automatic Commander staple in every green deck, right? It's still 6 mana to get out, and blue decks can counter it. White decks can exile it, and everything, right? If they don't, then it's like there's plenty of other cards. If you don't get rid of this card, they're going to overwhelm me in value. So, I'd like to see that. I'm like, I've actually watched CEDH no ban list, right? Okay, the Moxes, I can understand why those are banned, right? Mox Ruby, Mox Sapphire, all that stuff. I can understand why those are banned. Those are reserve list. If anything, you want to know something, rules committee? How about you just ban all reserve list cards?
Yeah, that's one way to do it.
You want everybody who has reserve list cards. Well, not everybody, but the reason reserve list cards are so expensive because of collectors, right? They don't even play with the damn cards. There are a portion of people who do play with cards, right? But a good chunk of them don't even play with the cards. They just want them for value, right? Interest keep increasing in price and everything like that. Collectors, right? So here, Commander, unban every card and just ban only reserve list cards. And then you'll see how Commander goes. I guarantee you everybody will be on a more even playing field.
Oh yeah, and also makes things more interesting.
Oh yeah, it'll change up the whole format. Will they ever do that? Hell no. Because that would be like a massive shock to the whole gameplay.
I wish they did, though.
It'd be interesting to see, but that would be a massive shock to the whole gameplay. You know what? Maybe we should try that within our own group. Just say there's no bans except for all reserve list cards, and see what kind of decks we come up with and how the gameplay goes.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Right?
Yeah, that'd be really interesting, actually. I'd be down for that.
Yeah, it'd be a good experiment to try out.
Welcome to Camrose. I'm in Camrose right now.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. Man, I'm gonna tell you right now, the roads are icy, dude.
I know, man. Hey, be careful out there.
Yeah, I know. I've seen 7 cars in the ditch already.
Oh shit, man. Yeah, really.
Yeah. All right. And anyways, Rui, is there anything left you want to talk about in regards to Magic before we end off this episode?
No, that's. I think we covered quite a bit already.
All right.
Bit, and some of the other topics about how we can even make podcasts individually to reference those topics.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. All right. Anyways, Rui, where can people find you?
You can find me at Roos69er on Instagram. I'll be there. Feel free to leave all your comments. I'm pretty sure a lot of you won't agree with me. There are some that will. Hey, if you don't agree, that's fine. I understand that. Everybody has their own opinion. But if you're gonna just trash talk, at least give me a reason why. What's your why you don't agree? What's your view? I'm open to everything and I'll respond.
All right, beautiful. You can find all of us at Unhinged Vibes on Instagram and also on our website at Unhinged Vibes Podcast. You can find me on Instagram at Caramel Thunder, Caramel with 2 L's. Our other 2 hosts Noslin 69ers and Coast Dynasty. They're not here today because they're working, I believe. So this is just a spur of the moment episode with our good friend Rui here. Now expect to hear more with Rui on future episodes on the Unhinged Vibes podcast because he has a very strong opinion and he wants to let you know what his deal is and what his thoughts are on things. And trust me, I want to hear his thoughts on things too. Because it's always good to know what your enemy or what your friend across the table is thinking when you play Magic against them. So, anyways, folks, thank you for listening on today's episode of the Unhinged Vibes Podcast Talking in Cars Edition. We will see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Stay safe, everyone.